right, hey everybody. Thank you, Erica. I'm so glad to see SheFi out here in Korea. This is my first time. I have not remembered a single word in Korean. 안녕하세요. And I keep walking around and people keep speaking Korean to me. I'm like, oh, right. So I am super excited to be here. I really love the format of SheFi. I think SheFi, having worked in crypto for a very long time professionally since 2016, I actually think SheFi is one of the platforms where we can dive a little bit deeper in the nuanced conversations of crypto, emerging technology, all of that. So I think today we're actually going to talk about the future of work, the fear and fetishization of AI. And what does that mean? So ideally, at the end of this talk, you will accomplish two things. Number one is you will have kind of a walkthrough of the economic evolution of workforce automation. And I also think, number two, what does it mean to be building AI applications outside of what we're currently seeing in the media? And I'll explain with specific technical slides to showcase how it's currently being done. So what we see here is, of course, you can call it fear-mongering, you can call it a conversation. What it's really about is the understanding, the mainstream understanding that we are building AI to replace jobs, to replace the human workforce, if you will. But I think one of the ways to actually look at it is how do you build AI applications on top of human labor to be able to augment, to be able to propel you into that type of work. And why is this important? You know, I think a lot of times people always ask, you know, what does it mean to be a woman in leadership? I'm not even sure if you can see. Okay, great. What does it mean to be a woman in leadership? And I actually want to talk about the unpaid economy, the unseen economy. So what we can see here on the left-hand side is that women perform 66% of the unpaid household work, 66%. That actually equates to $1 trillion a year of unpaid work. That is on top of the work that you already do at the office, the work that you already do volunteering in your community. And if you look at this, this is actually, women spend 37% more time on unpaid work when in comparison to men. And so that's averaging about, you're spending about 2 hours extra a day in terms of unpaid work. So why does this matter, right? Because we even look at leadership in the workforce. If you are in a position of power, how big is your team compared to your counterparts? Are you running one department or 3 departments? Are you paid for 3 departments? Those are some things to consider. And I think as we're also scaling our labor force, we're also scaling the emotional economy, the attention economy, the boredom economy. So I think oftentimes when we see this at scale, our imagination goes to how do we actually perpetuate this and building it, let's say like AI companions, et cetera, right? But this is, again, the oldest trade in the book, if you guys remember, right? And so when we're talking about scaling the workforce, may it be for your own pleasure, entertainment, at the office, if you will, this is not a new concept, right? I think depending on where your algorithm is in Twitter, you'll probably see a lot of AI agent swarms. I don't know if you guys see the AI agent swarms, but this concept is not new because the swarm workforce existed as early as the Egyptians, right? One of the most important developer tools of that time was the rope. So when the rope was invented, it made it very possible for swarms of workers to be able to pull the blocks, stones, whatever you want to call it, to be able to assemble and build the foundation you need to build these pyramids. So the concept of AI agent swarms is not new. It's essentially being able to coordinate a lot of workforce on a shared context to be able to execute. Now, another thing is, I don't know if you guys can see this, which is like pretty nuts. Can you guys see this dollar amount? That's a penny. It's a goddamn penny. You know who's getting paid a penny? people, human beings. So this is Mechanical Turks. I first came across Mechanical Turks in 2013 when I needed to automate certain tasks for a hackathon that I was participating in. So this is more than 10 years ago. Mechanical Turks, you are seeing the early days. This still exists, by the way. This is a penny in today's money. They are training, you are doing opinion surveys, you're doing a lot of tagging. So a lot of the early AI imaging, you have people tagging different images. Yes, this is a dog. Yes, this is a dog. Yes, this is a dog. No, that's a cat, right? And Amazon still charges 5% on a penny. So I think one of the things to consider is when you're starting to automate a lot of these rails, you think about people talking about microtransactions, L2s, eliminating costs. This is a penny on top of just your general centralized Web 2 rails. This is not considering any kind of like transactions that right now you're trying to get agentic workflows to complete. Because a penny for a human is very different than a penny for an AI application, if you will. Now we kind of move on to the evolution. Now you have SaaS, right? And of course, SaaS, you have the monthly payments. You have then the workforce that is paid, that then you need to augment and have that tool built on already paid labor to operate the SaaS toolings. And sometimes, depending on your position, maybe you're a marketer, maybe you're an engineer, then are you paid for the time that you are also, filing away on project management, task management, all that type of stuff? I think, at the end of the day, my goal here is to really help us walk through the evolution of workforce automation. And the reason why is because Durkheim, this is a long quote by Durkheim, one of the founding fathers of sociology. In the 1800s, he talks about what happens to a humanity's sense of self-worth when we are automated out of a task, right? And so this is a conversation that has happened in the 1800s, long before computers and all that stuff, right? So why am I even sharing this? Why am I even talking about this? I got started in my career in Web3 as early as 2016. I was specifically responsible for ICOs back in the day. Then I joined Consensus. When I took some time off, I worked in robotic process automation. This has nothing to do with Web3. Sure, you can have it blockchain compatible, but robotic process automation, not to be confused with AI, is somehow like a precursor of AI, which is essentially being able to automate repetitive tasks. And we would do this at large scale. This is a 20-year-old company. We would do this at large scale for companies like Toyota, Santander, the Spanish bank. And when I was at OutSystems, one of the things that they had was also a predictive context, which was, let's say you're building a banking app for Santander, as an example. It knows that you're building a login screen, so then it will actually suggest, like, hey, I see that you're building a login screen. Why don't you have a way to be able to create a database to hold all of the contacts, if you will. And so I think that when we look at this evolution, because RPA has been around for quite some time, like I said, for more than 20 years, another acronym that maybe people have been hearing about recently is MCP, right? Which is this model context protocol. And I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but I think this is a really great image that really highlights the importance of MCP, because you're going to hear this quite a bit at a lot of these AI conferences, crypto conferences. And as MCP is basically being able to provide context and access to whichever workflows or AI applications you're trying to automate. So you can see here the classic ChatGPT and pay my electricity bill for this month. And you can see that not only do they not have the context to pay your electricity bill, but they don't even have the ability to be able to connect. Sure, maybe you want to jerry-rig a Stripe integration, Plaid, etc., but I don't think these systems are put into place to do that, right? So this is, you can see, a completely different level of just, let's say, a companion app. Let's say it's, can I wear this makeup with that thing, right? Whatever. So, but this is a different type of task automation. I think another way I like to really showcase what MCP might look like, especially through the lens of Gaia and what we've been building, because we are open source, we're completely modular. Our whole goal is to be able to provide inference across different AI applications that you can host locally. So what you can see here, oh, I'm not left-handed. Okay, let's try this again. So what you can see here is, again, within our open source framework, you can build whatever kind of instructions that you want to build, and you can host it locally on your device if you so choose to. You can also, of course, host it on-chain. You can host it in the cloud if you desire to. You can choose whichever model that you want to use. So in this case, we use a Llama 3. And then the MCP is the ability to basically plug and play the different applications that you need into your AI stack. And so in this example, I made it very, very Web3. This is just an example. So let's just say we use Collabland, which is one of the main, let's say, like Discord bot automation frameworks. Yeah, you're nodding your head, you get it. Right, so let's just say in this scenario, okay, I'm gonna join some like alpha trading Discord group. And whenever certain decisions are made, go to Uniswap and make that decision. We have a MetaMask delegation toolkit where you can then trade on Uniswap based off of that when certain conditions are met, right? And so let me explain how that even works on the back end. Oh, that is an interesting, it doesn't show all the, okay. So this is the map of the world. It's a gorgeous map of the world. You have different countries. And what ends up happening is that what we've built is a node network. What that means is this provides the context that you need for all the AI applications to be able to communicate with one another with the context. Every single node you can see here is a wallet address. In that wallet address, you of course have the ability to pay each other, but specifically you're able to give it identity to the agents and to be able to communicate across network. Let me explain how that looks like. About last December, we trained 3 different models on the node network that you just saw. And in those models, we gave it our investment thesis. Hey, these are the winners, these are the losers. We had a hackathon, we had 500 submissions. And with those 500 submissions, we trained 3 different agents that was able to coordinate on the network, choose the winners / the losers, and then within 6 seconds, coordinate with the payments agent and pay out 43,000 USDC to the winners. For context, for those who have been a part of ETH Denver, as an example, I've heard from the organizers it's taken 8 weeks for all of the different organizers to be able to pay out. So this is comparing 6 seconds to 8 weeks. At the end of the day, what we're not really focused on is just agent frameworks, building agents, launching agents. And let me talk about why, because when we're building out the types of infrastructure, most of our backgrounds as founders come from the infrastructure side, is that we want to make sure that there is an ability for potable context. And the biggest, driver of this vision is because we truly believe it's really, really difficult for centralized AI to be able to have that potable context. What you saw with ChatGPT as an example, if you can understand, ChatGPT has different types of plugins. Salesforce will soon announce that they're gonna have an AI agent marketplace. DigitalOcean just announced they have an AI agent marketplace. We remember there is the iTunes store, there is the Android store. Those different applications are built on different operating systems. They aren't able truly to be able to communicate with each other. Where their context is stored is on cloud. But that still provides a limitation in terms of what you can actually build. And so for the founders at Gaia, what we've really, really focused on isn't necessarily the consumer application layer, like your next virtual girlfriend or anything like that. What we've been really focused on is how do you provide potable context so that you can scale AI development. And one of the things that we launched recently, this is another example of kind of this consumer aspect, because what we're really, really obsessed with is kind of I don't know if virtues is the right word. I'm not sure if virtues is the right word. We're kind of interested in kind of the experimentations within Web3 lore, which is, so we launched Mother, one of the we co-created with Collabland, which guy in the back understands Collabland. And so with Mother, what we've been doing is being able to index and query all of the agents across our inference context, our inference map, so that you can register all the agents and find the best agents to be able to execute on their work. Because again, they're getting paid a penny, right? Before Mother, what ends up happening, it goes back to the siloed application marketplaces that you've seen, again, with centralized, like OpenSea with OpenAI, OpenSea? DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean and OpenAI as an example. And one of the main reasons that we're experimenting with Mother, being able to index and query all the agents on chain to see how they're performing in work, how they're able to contribute, is that with Mother, we're also experimenting and launching a sovereign wealth fund for all the agents that bring in work so that we can pay out to all the different participants within the Mother ecosystem. Now, the sovereign wealth fund idea is not new. There are 70 countries that have a sovereign wealth fund. The Norwegian sovereign wealth fund being one of the largest sovereign wealth funds, I believe, I can't quite remember how, it might have been like about $2 trillion. Yeah, about almost $2 trillion. We have about 5 million Norwegian citizens, so that equates to about 280,000 kroners per year for the rest of their lives, right? But it's because Norway had their money glitch, which is oil, right? And so one of our theories that we're experimenting is crypto a money glitch? Is this our equivalent of oil, right? So that's just something that we've been experimenting with. And so, I say all of this, and do you guys remember this book? Did anyone read this book? No? Tim Ferriss? Anybody? Yeah, you've read it. As I've been working in this space for quite some time, I've seen the evolution of like, why are we all doing this at the end of the day? And I think it kind of goes back to that one of the founding fathers of sociology, which is talking about, again, in the 1800s, what happens when we are automated out of a job, right? And Tim Ferriss, which was a very famous book in the US, this might have been 2000, who knows, when we were in high school. I have no idea. Everyone looks flawless, so I can't tell how old you are. But when we were like in high school or college or whatever, and we were reading the 4-Hour Work Week, which is the concept of like, how do you automate yourself and how do you be able to automate your tasks so that you can enjoy your life more? And I think that the point of this whole conversation is understanding why is there so much noise in the media about AI? What is actually being built with AI? How is MCP as a technical stack contributing to the automation of AI? Because at the end of the day, if our modern humanity, our goal is to automate ourselves out of a job, then it's like, okay, we can go like bedrot. That's kind of a vibe. That's one of the goals that we can choose. We can become so rich that our only goal is to become famous and live forever. Or you can also become so rich that you don't really need a job and you just want to like DJ. So I think that whatever your dreams are, anywhere from bedrotting to being a vampire to being a DJ in Ibiza, I wanted to just share some perspective on a very, very high level of like, why are we as a humanity building towards this? And I think my only takeaway for this is I'd love to have a conversation with you. Feel free to come talk to me, either online or in person. I'm gonna be here. And I would love to understand what you are working on. I'm happy to share more of what we've been working on as founders in the ecosystem and would love to get you guys involved. So I think with that said, thank you so much. Questions. Okay, great. We have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Questions. Yes, I am single. Thank you for asking. So if you want to wait in line over there, no, I'm kidding. Other questions? It's okay. All right, thank you so much.